In this video, we're going to look at another second function of one of your buttons at the top, and it is the second of the trace key called CALC. CALC is an extremely useful function of this calculator, and it lets you calculate things based on the function that you have typed in, or multiple functions. So right now I'm looking at the y equals. And I've changed things up a little. I put in a second function of y2 equals 0, and I changed y3 to be x squared plus 7. But I only have this first one on right now. All right, let's do second of the trace key, which is CALC. I use 3 of these 7 quite often in college algebra. Value, I don't really use because I use table. Value does find a function's value, like f of 7 is 9, or a minute ago when we did one where we had f of 2 was 11. When x was 2, y was 11. So we could do it with value, but table works a little better, and if you use value, then it has to be a value on the visible screen. So if you're in negative 10 to 10 in the viewing window, negative 10 to 10, but you wanted to know about what happens when x is 14, you can't do value. So I don't use value. Instead, I use table. 0. 0 is the zero of a function. A 0 can be called an x-intercept. X-intercept. I personally like to find my x-intercepts a different way, and I will talk about this in a few minutes. If I'm trying to find the coordinates of that point, and that point, and that point, I'm going to use intersect, but what I have to do is turn on a graph along the x-axis, and so I will need to turn on y equals 0. More about that later. What I'm telling you now is when you're looking for a 0 or an x-intercept, I don't use 0. I use a different method. All right, the other things, minimum. When we do minimum, we really do use the minimum button. So if I went to, well, before I even do it, it's important to recognize and be able to see in the good window that you have a minimum, which is like the bottom of a valley. You would like to know many times the coordinates of that minimum point. Some people like to try to use trace. Well, trace can get you close, but you're really not sure when you're exactly at the minimum. So please don't use trace to get minimum. Second of the trace key is CALC. I'll choose number 3. I'm just going to press a 3 for minimum. Now this is important, how you use it. You need to, and I call it sandwich. You need to sandwich the minimum between a left bound. In other words, go to the left of it. And when you're happy with where you are, press enter. Using your right directional arrow, go through until you're on the right side. How far to the right? That's up to you. It doesn't really matter. Just be on the right side of the minimum. Press enter. So now I am telling the calculator that the minimum is between here and here. So it is between here and here. When it says guess, just press enter a third time. You will have your minimum. If it's like this one, you'll probably be told to round to a particular place value. So let's suppose that they said round to 2 places or to the hundredths. Then I would have 0.52, comma, 6.63. Depending on the language of the book or my math lab, the min is 6.63 at 0.52. So when they say at in our book, they're asking for what's the x value, but the actual min is the y value. So that's your x and that's your y. These are approximates, and your question will tell you how to round. All right, let's go back to the calculator. So as a review, what I did, I went second of the trace key, which is CALC. I chose number 3.